Half touch is disabled, so yeah. Nothing to lose.
Could have been just a short streamer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would have been entertaining for the next 24 hours.
Oh wait, actually, I might have seen that.
Sheet.
What's that data?
Sorry. Yes, there is a Finn McCool's on the Ave.
Oh, very good, man.
I just didn't remember the name of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
No endorsement, just name recognition.
Hey, maybe they're listening.
Unless you want to send us some swag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Forget the swag. Send me some teriyaki.
Oh man, the next thing, drone delivery, drone pizza delivery to ships.
Drone
It's
pizza.
$1 million idea. Not that the ship's
That's
food
how much
isn't
the
good.
pizza would cost you.
How much would you pay for a pizza delivered
Well,
fresh
like,
here?
not all the way out here, but in like anchorages and stuff, I bet you can make a killing.
Anchorage?
Like in an anchorage where like a bunch of
at
ships just
Anchorage.
come in
Sorry,
and
yeah.
they're waiting for like fuel or to get in for the channel.
Yeah, no.
I'm just
I know what you
saying.
mean. Thought you meant the
Now
city.
everyone's going to steal my idea. I shouldn't have said that on SPL.
Yeah. They've already registered the domain name.
Your opportunity for Shark Tank has passed.
I don't know. That's a very niche market, though.
Yeah, but you go to a crowded anchorage and those people have been at sea for months at a time and they're like dying for some terrible fast food. You could be their person. Ship's food's good though. We don't.
Yeah.
They even make pizza here and it's pretty
They do,
awesome.
yeah.
It's pretty bomb.
Thank you.
Oh, hello. A shrimp. Yeah. There's a holothurian, so sea cucumber. Oh, a few of them. And then there's all these little worms.
Not muted. So as we continue to explore, you can see we're not quite sure what the body of the plane would look like on side scan, just because we don't know what shape the plane was in as it made its descent to the seafloor after the explosion. So we're looking for just kind of anomalies, and our science team can maybe give you a bit more details, but larger sections like the wings, for example, we think were intact based on the eyewitness account, and things that may not normally regularly appear on the seafloor, such as larger targets or formations. So what you're seeing when you're looking at channel 1 is you're actually seeing our side scan sonar, and all those different yellow lines and targets are different elevations and different returns that it's getting from its sonar as the sound bounces back from those objects it's hitting and returns to its origination point. So as the science team identifies targets, I think we're about 6 targets in right now that they have identified that they're interested in, then they mark it. And as they mark it, our data team logs it, and we log the coordinates so we can go back and check it out when we're done doing our transections of this area. And then we'll pull up Argus, attach Hercules, and explore those targets. But we still have a ways before we do that. We've been doing this for about 24 hours. We're about 4 hours in. So we've about 20 hours left of searching this 2 square mile roughly area.
That was an excellent explanation.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can add much more.
You can add a whole lot more detail than I probably
Probably
can.
in terms of the things that we're looking for in terms of shape and what they look like as opposed to like a rock.
So what you're seeing on the screen right now looks geologic in origin. These are, blob is the scientific term. Obviously, blobby features on the seafloor, whether they're sand ripples, whether they're boulders, whether they're ridges, something that is irregular in shape. What we are looking for the Samoan clipper targets are straight lines, something that has a relief to it, something that looks man-made. It could be an isolated object that does not look like the surrounding environment. So that's what we are monitoring the side scan sonar for and marking those targets, and we will then prioritize them and go back and put some eyeballs on them. And we're currently going through a shift change, so we're going to have a new crew on the headsets.
So for those of you joining us, we are still searching for the Samoan Clipper. We've just started our journey today. The Samoan Clipper was an S-42B type flying boat, and it unfortunately crashed in January 11th of 1938. There was an emergency landing off of Pago Pago, American Samoa, excuse me. and an eyewitness account states that the airplane did in fact make that emergency landing as it was turning around from its trip to Auckland when it was trying to establish its mail route, and unfortunately after making its emergency landing did in fact explode or experience some type of explosion based on the eyewitness account. And unfortunately Captain Ed Music and his 6 crew members were lost, and the wings were believed to have stayed intact based on the eyewitness account. And after about 5 minutes or so, it was believed that it sank. And all the recovery efforts during that time, unfortunately, were not successful. So if we were to be able to find the Samoan Clipper, this would actually be the first time it's been sighted since then in 1938. But we've used extensive research from the Air and Sea Heritage Foundation to be able to conduct this investigation. Is this a new target?
Yeah, we're doing a new target. Sorry, this is about 80 meters to starboard.
Right.
And this will be,
Do you want to start a new shift for a new shift, or keep going?
just keep going. What target number is this? 8, 7. This will be targets, so R1055_707. Yeah. So Chris, can we drop a target 80 meters to starboard of the Argus point?
Roger that.
Thanks. Thank you.
Are we using the Argus heading?
Yeah. It's only 16 meters? Weird.
It's wider. It's a shadow.
It's 16 by 4, 80 meters high. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, I think it's a rock. That makes no sense. Oh, that's a, no, no, no. The length is, oh, I don't know. I didn't do it right.
Target number 7.
It's like rectangular and linear. It's this thing here.
With the shadow.
Are you good?
Yep.
Okay, saving it. Yeah.
Mike, can you go with this to see if we're still on the same filing?
We are, no, we're on 03 now.
So the next page is a new, this is new one for, yeah, we were trying to do sort of one per watch. Should I go ahead and fill this out? Sure. You want to go by that? You want to start a new cover page per watch?
I mean, we could just do a cover page per dive, maybe.
Okay.
So, hi everyone. We just switched watches.
Hello.
And I am
Hello.
Valeria in the communications team. And maybe we can introduce the rest of the team that is working with us for 4 hours on this watch.
Sure, I'll start. I'm Steve Matter. I'm the video engineer on this watch. Come from Massachusetts and happy to be here searching for the Clipper.
I am Wendy. I'm the Argus pilot.
Michael, the Hercules pilot? Assistant to the Argus pilot today?
Chris, I am the navigator on this watch.
I'm Mike Brennan. I'm the lead, one of the lead scientists for this expedition and watch leader for this watch.
Hi, this is Dee Dee Marks. I'm sort of helping out on this watch, but normally you will catch me between 8 and noon, but just helping out, doing a little extra time.
And I'm Rebecca Wiffler. I will be acting as the data logger for the shift.
For the people that just started following us, we are on the search of the Samoan Clipper. This flying boat had some trouble, and after setting on fire, it sunk on January 11, 1938, 81 years ago. And now, thanks to technology, we are trying to find it. Also, for the ones that just started following us, on the images, when we see this very bright yellow, those are some textures on the seafloor.
Looks like we're entering into a bit of a rocky area. You can see one of them in the Argus camera if you're watching the quad view. Big rocks. Yeah. You can see some of the sand ripples next to them. So there is some current down here.
Being able to have a video feed is pretty unique. This is not the norm for towing side scan sonar. So this presents a nice interpretation learning opportunity to be able to combine what's actually on the seafloor with the acoustic images that is coming back from the side scan sonar.
Yeah, we weren't expecting to have a good view of the seabed from the Argus cameras, but when we when we kind of tinkered with the altitude versus the range settings for the sonar, it looked like we were able to still get a good eye on the seabed, which is great because it means that we don't have a blind spot underneath Argus where the side scan is mounted.
If only we were always so lucky.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a big rock.
Well, is that one there along way down? Okay. Okay. Okay.
We're almost to our point. We're going to stop and check our swing so we can switch over surveys onto our new lines.
Yeah, that's great. And not that I need to remind you of this, but just in case, we want to make sure we're pulling up on the winch as Argus pendulum's over.
Yep.
Yeah, roger that.
I knew you knew that, just, better said than sorry.
For sure.
when this side scan was actually in its own towfish, and we were towing it behind Nautilus in the Black Sea. We didn't have very good bathymetry because it was before Nautilus had a multi-beam, and we definitely collided with some rises. Well, we've gone down about 200 meters in depth since we started this line. We started at about 3071. It's interesting. Expected, though.
Good to know that the previous multi-beam surveys are accurate.
Yeah. No, I think you're looking at microbes.
I don't believe we've seen any fish yet.
Not many.
Yeah.
Sometimes viewing side scan coming in is like looking at clouds and trying to see like giraffes and elephants in the clouds. You're trying to be like, hey, that could be something, and you know it's not. So sometimes you don't want let your mind wander too much, otherwise you're seeing all sorts of fun things in the side scan.
I think I see the biggest, bestest ship ever. Oh, yeah, no, that was a boulder.
Yeah.
Especially after hours and hours of looking at the same screen.
Yeah, and if you get bored with looking at the side scan, you can look at the very flat mud in the Argus view. So you know that's at least slightly. Well, I don't know which is better actually.
It's a palette cleanser.
Yeah, I think the side scan screen's actually moving faster.
It's the between course sorbet.
Mm.
So for those of us that are new to the side scan, how do we read these 4 windows? So I'm guessing left and right, and then at the top and the bottom are just different scales?
Yeah, so this is a sonar made by a company called Edutech, and it has 2 sonar frequencies. So one sending out acoustic signals at a ping level of in kilohertz of 300 kilohertz and then 600 kilohertz. So 600 is a higher frequency and higher resolution, and so that one we have optimized to about 100 meters, and that's on the top. And then on the bottom 2 rows, you'll see the low frequency, which is the 300 kilohertz pings, and those, it goes out a little bit further. We have that set at 150. So you can actually see the same target going out of screen on the left that had like the 2 horizontal bright lines. They're the same target, but we have different resolution sonars pinging them at the same time. And so, yeah, the black thing in the center, that's the water column below Argus. And then the sonar starts where the brownish reflections come in. And then you can see the scale. It ranges from 20 to out to 100 and then 150. So you can kind of see the sort of scale resolution that we're looking at. And so that's kind of an acoustic picture of the seafloor to either side of Argus as we go by.
Cool, thanks.
Alrighty, so I'm gonna change over the survey now.
Sounds good. Yeah.
We might have to sidestep a little bit to get properly on the line.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
But we'll check this
I
one.
was just gonna let it sit.
I'm
See
gonna
how
stop
it
recording
settles
because it's
out.
gonna get messy as we. Well, yeah, let's just leave it. So.
Unless you want to do.
Yeah, we'll come back right to
No,
get
I'm
on
gonna stop now.
line 12.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop now. So then I'm gonna change this to. What the line we're doing is what, number 12?
12, yeah, it's we went a little over it. We'll come back and probably meet Argus
I'm not
in the
gonna
middle.
start recording until you say go. So we've stopped recording the sonar.
Roger that.
And as soon as we do that, we're gonna see something awesome. As always. I found a lot of ancient shipwrecks when we were working in Turkey on turns. It's like anytime we turned, we're like, oh wait,
Bridge
there's one.
nav.
Always on the very edge of it. Always
yeah.
on the very edge of I think I see something.
Request we track a line bearing 209 at 0.5 knots. Thank you.
Did you guys decide to keep side scan on or off?
I just stopped recording for now, and because they're gonna kind of come up with Argus and let it swing around, and we're gonna move the ship a little bit to get back online. So we'll start line 12 once that's all sort of settled out.
All right, thank you.
And I will try very hard to remember to let you know.
Great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. So let's see, it's 4 o'clock p.m. our time, which means it's 11 p.m. on the East Coast. Oh, you pulled that up. Yeah, 2200 hours. So
nobody that I know is awake right
now. Yeah, most of the people I know are sleeping because it's a school night.
Oh, a work night.
A work night. Yeah, I don't really know anybody in school anymore.
The youngins.
My brother and many other people on the West Coast may still be observing, or we might have put them to sleep with side scan. I don't know. I know that's happened in the past when we were doing hours and hours and hours of side scan in the Mediterranean and Black Sea.
They're like, that's nice.
It looks the same as yesterday. Yeah. but this is a great way of finding things. So in deep water, assuming anybody's watching, when you're trying to find something the size of a ship or an aircraft in deep water, the multi-beam system that we have on Nautilus that's mounted to the hull is just not refined enough and not the high enough resolution at that going down 3,000 meters to be able to see, or I guess in a way hear a response from an object as small as an aircraft or a ship. So even things like battleships or oil tankers that sink, when they're in depths like this, you can't see them with multi-beam. So deep tow, side scan, as well as deep AUVs are really the only ways to find targets that you may think a battleship or a plane of this size are large, but when it comes to mapping seamounts, they're actually quite small. So we're doing our best with a really great kind of a fusion of tools. We have a towfish and a sonar system built onto a camera sled ROV, and the engineers designed a fin to help streamline the ROV so that it can act more like a towfish and not kind of have a lot of wiggle in the as it moves along behind the ship. And so far, it's looking pretty good. When we first started the sonar today, it did not look good, and it took a few hours of running around and changing settings to actually get a pretty good image coming in. So we've seen quite a bit of rocks, which is not a surprise for how steep the volcanic islands of Samoa are. So these have dislodged over time and tumbled down the slope. But we're fairly confident that when man-made materials that are rectangular, straight edges, that sort of thing, also made of aluminum instead of rock, pretty confident that we'll be able to see these sorts of different types of targets as we go by. So thinking things look pretty good, and we're about to start a survey into the wind, which is better than we'd be going kind of perpendicular to the wind and over the area where the Samoan Clipper is reported to have crashed. What?
Did Okeanos do the multi-beam?
Yeah. And Didi reminded me that we should shout out to our sort of sister ship to Nautilus, Okeanos Explorer, which is run by NOAA's Office of Ocean Exploration and Research. They came out in 2017, I believe, 2016 or 2017, and did the multi-beam survey of this area, which we're using as a base map, so we know the depths that we're surveying at. So they came out here and did that whole survey a couple of years ago, which laid the groundwork for us to be able to come out here with an ROV and sonar and do the more fine-scaled mapping effort to find this aircraft.
But it's nice to have that data to help with planning purposes, even if it's not as detailed. It still allows you to look at the terrain and see if there's any hazards that might be there.
Yeah, this part actually looks quite flat. There's some other areas to the east and to the west, if we extend our survey in those directions, that look a bit more seamounty and with some topography. So right now we're in a pretty good area for this sort of work, and we'll see how things go over the next couple of days.
Mike, you mentioned the aluminum might stand out. In what way would that be visible on the side scan?
So yeah, metal is a very strong reflector of sound, so it'll show up a little bit brighter than this yellow, maybe like a whitish yellow, and because metal's a kind of, if you can imagine, maybe like a cymbal, not like a drum cymbal, a CYM. it responds to impact and sound quite well. So it has a really strong reflection, whereas mud and sediment and rock are a bit duller. So you're going to see it with kind of a bright return, kind of like the rock, but I'm expecting it to be a little bit brighter return than that.
Thanks.
So that tied to right angles and straight lines and rectangular looking things that imply a man-made object. Those are kind of the things that we're looking for when we're trying to interpret what's a rock, what's a ridge, what's, that sort of stuff, natural geology versus man-made objects and the sorts of things that we're looking for down here.
Cool.
Mike, how did you get involved with this project?
How did I get involved in this project? So I work for a company called Search, and we're the largest archaeology company in the country. And my boss, Jim Delgado, is I've worked with him for quite a while. He used to be the Maritime Heritage Director for NOAA, Office of National Marine Sanctuaries. We both joined Search about 2 years ago, and this is a project that had been proposed by Russ Matthews, who's the founder and president of Air Sea Heritage Foundation, about 5 years ago at a workshop between OET and NOAA to look at what sort of interest there is in the Pacific, as both ships of exploration were going to be operating out here at the time. And so that was proposed then, and Russ approached us when we were at Search and asked us to kind of put together a cost estimate about what it would take to do this survey out here. And at the time, Nautilus, we didn't know that Nautilus was coming here because they kind of work on their schedule through the off season and kind of refine where they're going to be over the course of the field season. And so I was actually looking into some of the NOAA ships that are based out of Pearl Harbor, a couple of other vessels, as well as different ROV and AUV systems that we could have to mobilize, ship from the States, mobilize on a vessel of opportunity that we likely would have had to pay to transit out here from Guam or Hawaii or something. And then when Jim Delgado talked to Bob Ballard at OET, one time they were discussing these things, and it turned out that Nautilus was going to be coming to American Samoa, and we told Russ, and we refined the sort of the proposal that we were putting together for this project, and to have a ship that have the capabilities of Nautilus with the ROVs and the sonar systems, and in addition the telepresence, because that's something that we really like to use, and to broadcast this sort of exploration and discovery to the public, as well as to link up to other experts who we aren't able to have on the ship. All of those things aligning was quite exciting, and so we got all the participants and groups together, and yeah, committed to using Nautilus for these 6 days out here to try to do this.
Great. Thank you. I was actually talking to Ross this afternoon before the watch, and we were talking about how exploration and that sense of adventure is at the core of human nature, and how these people were pioneers, where they were trying to connect for the first time through air the US and New Zealand at the moment, and it's thanks to that sense of exploration and that curiosity and that creativity that we are able to do things like this. So
yeah, well that's very philosophical, but to expand that a little bit, I mean, the native Samoans and other Pacific Islanders did the same thing when they got in their boats, and
exactly,
they were amazing navigators, and they were able to populate these Pacific Islands that are, I mean, we all just flew here on aircraft and it seemed like a long journey, but they were on their boats for probably weeks to get to these islands, and enough of them were able to come that they had communities established on most of them, including Hawaii, and also that they were able to navigate to these islands with only the stars and stuff.
Absolutely.
They had a sense of exploration and ended up with the populating these islands, and then that was continued using these islands as stopping places off for the mail route that the Samoan Clipper was following, and Pan Am Airways was pioneering to New Zealand, that Captain Ed Music was leading the charge on, and then now we're out here doing similar exploration, kind of in that wake. So, yeah, that's something that I think these islands out here, sort of over time, that they have that link.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Alright, we're right at the front of the line. We're gonna hold position here until Argus gets in a better position, and then we'll start tracking.
Yeah, it looks great.
Bridge, no. We can just hold position here. Thank you. Shouldn't take long, it's not too far off of us.
So, Chris, would you tell us a little bit what we're doing right now?
Sure. So currently what we're doing is, because of the changing weather patterns, we changed the direction that our search lines are facing. So we're waiting for the ship to hold position, Argus to swing back behind us, and then we'll be ready to start on our lines again, because we want to make sure that Argus is following as close to our lines behind us as possible.
Got it. Thank you.
Yes, we will be headed 0 at 0.
Mike, just want to confirm, you're not recording on the side scan right now, so we can adjust the Argus heading?
Correct, we're not recording.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah. We could always turn it on to get there if we need to.
Wendy, can you tell us, is this the first time that you are piloting the Argus without Hercules?
I've actually done this once before, but not for side scan. We did one time take Hercules off because we were like in a kelp field trying to find a cave, and we were just kind of dropping Argus down to see where the kelp was.
That's funny. Yeah, we haven't. I think that we used the sonar on Argus at one point in either the Gulf or California, but the last time the only time I really have used it for a significant amount of time was in 2010 in the Mediterranean Sea south of Turkey, in a basin that was mostly sedimented in, so we really didn't find anything. It was a very long, it was like a 3-day dive. There was a lot of side scan.
So, it's kind of moving. Argus is kind of just sitting right off our bow. So if we want, I can take a step slightly back and over to try to pull it back behind the start of the line.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you guys are good with like the shiv and everything, I think we can just start the line.
All right, roger that.
If we miss the first few meters of it, I'm not too concerned over that.
It looks like it should be in a good position.
Yeah,
it's just,
I think it is.
Yeah. All right, roger that. Bridge nav. Request we start tracking the selected line bearing 080 at 1 knot. Thank you. So, did you guys find that cave?
We did find a cave.
Not the cave.
I don't know. It was one that some divers had found previously.
Wasn't that like you're in like 4 meters of water?
I think that was the same dive, yeah. It was, well, it might have been a max of like 30 meters, and then
Yeah.
we were like backing the ship up against one of the Channel Islands.
Jeez.
Do you need Argus or a snorkel?
Argus was just kind of floating at the surface. There's some cool pictures from it, though. You can see the light from Herc.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it was at night. Because we needed, well, at night, you didn't have to deal with the sunlight.
Is side scan still on? Or
Yeah, the side scan's on. We're not recording right now. We're just, because we've just kind of been settling out under the ship. Once we start moving a little bit faster, I'm going to start the recording the next line.
Okay, while we do this, I'm gonna ask you questions about islands. I love islands. I actually come from the Galapagos Islands in Ecuador. So I have a weakness for islands.
Understandable.
I'm gonna ask you guys, I don't know, how many islands have you visited, or I don't know, how do you feel about
let's see.
islands?
So I love islands. I've been to Oahu and Maui on Hawaii. I've been to Bermuda and Nassau in the Bahamas. And most recently I went out to the Marshall Islands and Bikini and Majuro atolls for some work. We did some sonar work at the warships that were sunk in one of the nuclear blasts in 1946. So I was out on those islands. Couple of little tiny islands off of Maine when I was in college. Stuff like that.
Nice. Someone else has a weakness for islands?